Welcome to Practicing Prayer Lesson 3. Over the last 2 weeks, we have practiced ways of preparing for prayer and practiced different kinds of prayer. Through silence, confession, and meditation, we have been building skills that allow us to enter deeper into prayer. Today, we are going to practice praying out loud in a few different ways by working through the different components of prayer. For this first activity, we're going to pray with eyes open by answering some questions. The leader will pause the video and read a question and move to the next after a couple have answered. When you answer out loud, speak as if you are praying and speaking directly to God. This may feel awkward, but this is an opportunity to be stretched. Pause here and begin.
We have essentially prayed the Lord's Prayer, but in our own words and our life situations. The questions asked and answered were based on the Lord's Prayer. And we all just prayed out loud. Prayer is talking and listening to God, which we just did together. In this next activity, we are going to practice praying out loud by doing a role play. I am going to read a silly scenario about a clown named Carl. This will allow us to practice forming a prayer for a situation that doesn't matter, because the situation isn't real. Let me read you the short story. Carl the clown is stuck in his clown car. His giant shoes are wedged under the seat and his orange hair is closed in the window. A small child whose parents left him unattended at the circus has stolen Carl's squirting plastic flower and is squirting him in the face. You cannot get Carl out of the car or pull the child away, but you can pray for Carl who is screaming, "Please, pray for me." Divide into groups of 2 or 3. Have groups prepare to pray by discussing where God is present, remembering what God has done in the past, asking what God's will for this situation is for everyone involved, and any relevant prayer teachings. One at a time, each person in the group will pray out loud for Carl. Embrace the silly. Laugh. It is hard to pray for this crazy situation, which is why it's good practice. Allow each person to say a short prayer, out loud for Carl. Pause here, pray for Carl, and discuss the questions on the screen.
Prayer is rarely something we think of practicing, but there are so many different situations and types of prayer that practicing is essential if we want to pray well. This kind of practicing for prayer is easier when we aren't in an important or difficult situation. Practicing like this can help us be ready when difficult situations arise. So far, we have been practicing different elements of prayer: addressing God, confessing sins, requesting help. These are skills, but tools can also help us with different elements of praying well. Saint Ignatius of Loyola was a Spanish priest in the 16th century. Part of his mission in life was helping regular Christians find new depth in their lives of faith. He developed a guide to help Christians be sensitive to God's activity and voice in their daily lives, called the Exam. As a group, we will use his guide to look at our day with God. After we finish praying, there will be time to reflect together. Until then, we will listen in silence to not distract from the Spirit. Now, find a comfortable position and close your eyes. Call to mind the last day or two. Moving from first thing when you woke up, try to remember everything that happened. Who did you see? What did you do? Pause the video here, and with your eyes closed, the leader will read each question for you to respond to in prayer. When enough time has passed with the last question, hit play to continue. Examen is another ancient prayer tool that grows in power with familiarity. It is most common to use it at the end of the day, or to review a week at the end of the week. This becomes a rhythm of letting God direct our gratitude, confession, and rejoicing. How could praying Examen daily or weekly affect how you see yourself in the world? Pause here and discuss.
Prayer has different elements. A full prayer life relies on all the elements, but they can be arranged in different ways. And it is not necessary that every prayer have all of the elements. There are a lot of elements of prayer we have covered: preparing to pray, addressing God, describing God's goodness, remembering God's faithfulness, naming the world that we want to see, confession of our sin as individuals and a community, forgiveness and reconciliation, naming our needs and asking for God's provision, material, psychological, and spiritual, gratitude for good gifts, listening for God's voice. Which of these do you naturally pray most often? Which are the least natural? Pause and discuss.
Now that we have practiced different elements of prayer, I want you to take out your prayer flipbook and choose any of the scripted prayers. This will not be a test on comprehension. It is an opportunity to learn from other people's prayers. So get curious about why someone took the time to write this prayer, and why did they intentionally write it like this. Take out your flipbook. Each person in class is to pick one of the prayers from the flipbook. You do not have to choose the same one. Once everyone has chosen a prayer, pause the video and read the prayer in silence and discuss these questions.
Finally, grab a piece of paper and a pen. On your paper, write a short prayer for your coming week. You can use the various elements from our lessons. Make sure to include other people who will need God's presence and their situations in your prayer. Consider including an element from the prayer you studied. Take 3 minutes to write the prayer. Use this prayer during this next week and bring it with you next week. Take 3 minutes at the end of this video and see you next time for Lesson 4.